Greetings, magical souls. I am here today with the beautiful Kitty, who is a lady that is involved in wildlife rescue and rehabilitation and refuge and that kind of thing. So, today's chat's going to be really, really special, and I do hope that you enjoy it. And we have some messages to share today, but I met Kitty a couple of months ago now, or maybe it's going on for nearly a year. But it was actually my a coach that I have that put Kitty and I in touch with each other. And because Kitty obviously has a refuge, a wildlife refuge that she runs, and like a sanctuary of sorts, which is, as everybody knows that watches me, the kind of thing that I want to do one day. So we were put in touch, and I was really, really touched by the story of what had happened with Kitty's ravens, which I will get her to share just now. But today's chat between Kitty and I is really going to be just about, some of the things that have gone on. Some of it's not so great. I always believe that the animals that come here have messages for us, and they show us where we are going wrong and where we need to improve as a species. Because really, they came here with us, and we promised to look after them, and we really haven't done a good job. So, now is the time that we are really, really being called to step up and work with the animals. And Kitty has been actually doing that for the past 30 years. So now I'm just going to allow Kitty to sort of just introduce herself. And, this is going to be a conversation probably about many things, but Kitty and I share a great, great, great love for animals. Both of us
Yeah,
prefer animals to humans, and we're not shy to say that. But yeah,
right.
so welcome, Kitty, and I'm so delighted that after all this time, we are finally getting together to record this video, which obviously it's time. There's a reason why it's only happening now, but welcome, Kitty, and thank you so much for being here today.
Oh gosh, I'm just anytime I get to speak with you, yeah, I'm thrilled. Yeah, this is great. Well, yeah, my nonprofit is set up as Kitty's Wildlife Refuge and Rescue.
Okay.
So yes, a lot of rescue work, a lot in the last 31 years. But 31 years ago, I came here with my 7-year-old son to a pretty barren homestead, original homestead with 4 trees. And we had been in a car accident. So I was homeschooling him, to catch him up in school. And we never stopped. So one of our science projects was planting about 300 trees, most of them from seeds. And so I have a forest here now. And most of my trees are actually imported desert pine trees, which is unusual to see a stand of pine trees down in the lower desert here, but they're actually desert pine trees, casuarinus, desert pine trees imported from the Middle East. So yeah, and then one of those things that happened was plant it and they will come. And so now I've got trees and 30, 40 feet high, more shade and water. We put in a watering system. I have in-ground water basins that fill up with fresh water 3 times a day. In the desert, that's a premium. So pretty much any indigenous desert animal that lives anywhere even close to me that finds this place does not leave. They just hang out here because it's really very, very, very copacetic for survivability with what we did to this place here. So natural setting, nothing in cages. My tortoise sanctuary is in a protected area that's fenced, but that's just so that the other wildlife, coyotes, roadrunners, stuff like that, can't get to them. But yeah, it's just all a natural setting.
I mean, that's absolutely gorgeous. I love it. So,
As a matter of fact, if you go to Google Maps and put in my address, 21900 Penny Lane, if you put and look from a satellite down, you can't really see anything except a bunch of trees. I mean, there's so many trees that you can't see anything else. So, you
oh,
know, from the
amazing.
satellite, it looks like a forest down here. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's exactly how it should be because the animals are, if they're in there, we really, we want them in their natural setting as far as they can be. So if they can come and get some
Yeah.
shade and respite from the sun and that, and they've got water, and we don't need to have them in enclosures and stuff. I mean, obviously that's necessary sometimes when we're rehabilitating and that, but really that to me is the ideal kind of sanctuary and refuge and
Yeah. So, one of the most often comments that I get is because I'm doing, Airbnb has been hosting my experience. Um so I get visitors from all over the world here doing my tour. And many of them, I mean, all animal lovers. Great. I get to meet animal lovers from all over the world. Um, but they'll say, wow, this is so different than a zoo because nothing is caged here. And they get to see everything, living and acting in their own environment, not caged up. And that one thing alone makes a big impression on people coming here and all the animals that they see. Yeah, it's really, yeah, really fun for them to see them in their natural environment.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I love it. Okay, so I thought maybe let's you've told us a little bit about your sanctuary and what you do there. What I would like to get out of the way so we can move on to the more beautiful things is if you would like to just share your story about the ravens and what happened with the ravens, because I think I know the stories on your website, which will be linked in the description box for anybody who wants to
Yeah.
go and visit. But I'd like you to share your story about the ravens, if you wouldn't mind, and feel free to do that as you wish to.
Okay. Well, mostly what I am known for is my dog rescues. Dog, not too many cats because cats really don't survive long enough in the desert, but my dog rescues. So, in other words, I worked on a 100 dog hoarding situation 13 years ago that I found out about up in this wilderness area. Um, I spent every single day for 2 years trying to rescue 100 dogs. It made the news and the TV and called Death Camp. Hiked up there every day for 2 years, hauling food and water, trying to humanely trap them all. They were wild. It's like going after a wolf pack. Um, so I'm really more well known for my animal dog rescues. But because of where I am, and I have so many birds here, there's at least 200 wild ravens here, but all kinds of birds, migratory birds. People started bringing me injured birds because the only official licensed rehab place out here would not take ravens. She would only take the bigger birds like the eagles and the hawks, the protected birds. Um, and ravens are in that category too, but she just wouldn't take them. I mean, for one thing, she was older like me, 75 now. But the other thing is, well, there's just too many ravens anyway. So people are bringing me birds. I have always rehab birds, always. Don't know if I mentioned to you that when my mother graduated college in 1947, she wanted to be a veterinarian. And
Yeah.
they talked her out of that because, well, that's not really a woman's profession. Um, so 2 years later, I was born, her firstborn. I've been rescuing baby birds that fall out of trees since before I was 5 years old. I mean, I've just always done it.
Mm.
And so when people started bringing me birds, of course, I'm not a veterinarian, but I know a lot of stuff what to do to help. So I would rehab them and release them. Well, sometimes if their injuries are too severe, broken wings and broken legs, they can't fly, they can't survive on their own. Uh, so I ended up building a aviary for birds who cannot fly. So it was my handicap aviary, and with branches all around up in there, they could hop around. They had all this space, quite large aviary. Um, and I have been taking care of them. Some of them were over 10 years old, but they become like your pet dog. Plus they're probably smarter than dogs. I mean, ravens, I mean, all birds are smart, but ravens are considered to be the smartest bird in the world because of the head size to the brain size to head size. They're incredibly intelligent, and a lot of documentation done about this. So interacting with the raven, believe me, is really quite an amazing experience. You develop a relationship with them. You're talking to them and spending time with them every day. Um, I had I had become aware of the fact that ravens are a protected species. You're not allowed to have them for pets. But in the case of injured ravens, the Fish and Wildlife created a special licensing back in the early 2000s called educational permits, where you could use a non-releasable bird for educational purposes. Now, who has a license with Fish and Wildlife, they are legally obligated to euthanize any bird that they can't release. And I mean, we're talking eagles, hawks. They can't release it. They are obligated to euthanize. But then they had this idea, and I mean, they've been protected since the early 1900s. But the early 2000s, they decided, well, they would create this special category, and you'd be able to use these non-releasable birds for educational purposes. I had tried to find out about getting those those license. I mean, it wasn't a day and night thing for me. I'm too busy, saving lives out there. But I go, well, yeah, that'd be nice. In fact, I was consulting with a lady who used to work for Fish and Wildlife. Well, it'd be nice to have them. Yeah, it'd be nice. Um, but they came here and uh and said, you're not allowed to have those birds without licenses. And I explained, well, I've been trying to get them. Okay, well, you got to get permits. Okay, I'll do it. I filed. Finally, somebody after 3.5 years told me how to do it. Okay, I did it. Paid the money, $1,000. Um, they came back 2 months later and said, well, you have to have the permits before you have the birds, and you admit to having these birds for many years. So we're never going to give you the permits. And at that point, they seized 8 of my handicapped raven kids, seized them, confiscated them, killed them all, and turned around.
Yeah, sorry. I'm getting, I know that's
Yeah.
funny, but I'm getting upset.
Well, this is heartbreaking story. And after this happened, I didn't even know if I could do my tours anymore. I was so devastated. I can tell you that it's something I will never get over. Never. Like, there's not enough time that can go by where I'm going to get over, you know. This was just senseless, unnecessary killing of life. But they seized them, they killed them all. They did autopsies on them to document their injuries, which they all had before people brought them to me. And they turned around and criminally prosecuted me for these injuries. And we're asking for 6 years jail time for me. So I went through over 2 years of pre-trial hearings where they would not back off on that jail sentence thing. My attorneys tried a couple of times for what about probation? I've got, look, you got to understand, I would not be able to live through probation for even 2 days, because the next person that brings me an injured bird drives out here to the middle of nowhere to hand me off an injured bird. I'm going to do everything in my power to help that bird. I don't recognize the authority of Fish and Wildlife or any government or state agency to tell me that I'm not allowed to help, right? And I got so tired of these offers about probation and stuff. And I said, the other problem with probation is I didn't do it. I didn't do anything, right? But finally, 2 years in, I told my attorney one day, here's my final offer. Go back and tell the judge. Um, if the state of California versus Kitty Pallison, if the state of California wants to pay for my lobotomy, so it's not possible for me to care, and I'm able to walk by a bird laying on its back on the ground and not even pick it up and try to help it, you know, that is the only way that I will be able to comply. Take away my ability to care, and then I'll go on probation. But otherwise, no, no, I don't recognize your authority over me. So they finally did drop the case, but it was from a lack of evidence. Duh. you know, I've been here for a lot of years. A lot of people know what I'm doing here. They went on to that Airbnb web experience thing, and all these letters that people wrote, and okay, lack of evidence. But now that the case has been dropped, by the way, 2 months after the birds were killed, one division of Fish and Wildlife came back and said, "We approved your permits." 2 months after they were killed. And then they went on hold because I was being prosecuted, and they recently contacted me and said, "Well, you've never applied for any birds, to be in your educational program, and because you don't have any birds, you didn't name any birds that you wanted to use for educational purposes, so we're going to let your application expire." I had 8 birds here. I had 8 birds here that I put on that application. So it's just
It's just
all of that.
red tape, bureaucratic bullshit, basically.
It's yeah, it's kind of like I've been searching for words. It's beyond bullshit. It's so inhumane and cruel and disconnected and does not make sense. And it's one of those things. Again, I don't have a place to put all that. And I'm going to continue to help. I might get in trouble again. I'm going to continue to help until the last breath I take on this planet. And if I'm the kind of person that they need to put away, you know, then that's where I'm going to go. I haven't had a day off since my son left 20 years ago. I do 24/7 here. And I was asking my attorney, do they let you read in jail? I'm a little behind on my reading. But the unconscionable circumstances, and the documentary found out that my case was dropped. They wanted to come out and film my reaction to that, and I said, my reaction is not going to be what you think it's going to be, because I am hugely disappointed that I did not get to go to trial and expose the system and fight for the birds. I wanted to expose them. They, as far as I'm concerned, they get off with a slap on the hand. I did not want to get out of going to trial. Did not want that. Even at the risk of going to jail, I did not want that. I wanted to take it all the way so that I could use that win and take the decision on that to change some laws and help some more animals.
No, and just for anybody watching, I actually met Kitty while the trial was, well, while she was still, in this process. And I do remember the day when you got hold of me and said that the case of the judge, you were meant to go there, you had the meeting, or whatever it's called in legal terms, and the judge threw it out for lack of evidence and what have you. And I remember us both sitting there going like, okay, well, like it was really, really a hollow, one of those things that I think we call a hollow victory, because,
Yeah,
and I remember sitting with it for a couple of days, and even some of I remember my patrons, my Patreon people, we had all come
yeah,
together the day before. I had told them about you, and I said that you were going
Yeah,
to, it was this meeting or the arraignment or whatever the hell you call it. I don't know the legal speak, but
yeah.
you were going to be there.
Mandatory. Yeah,
Yeah, and we sent you all the good vibes and everything,
yeah,
and it was thrown out. And afterwards, you and I were sitting there going, but this doesn't feel, something. It was very hollow. But I remember saying
no,
to you, the fact is that you've got the weight of the law off your back, and that part we have to celebrate because there was nothing else that we could do at the time. And I said to you then, we have to make this video when you are ready, because it's
yeah,
the message behind this. It's the message of the fact that these so-called bodies, like the Department of Fish and Wildlife, and we have them,
yeah,
not just them, but all of them all over the world, even some of the SPCAs and whatever, they're all under the guise of helping animals. And we're now at the point where we are withdrawing our power from all of these institutions that we've been unknowingly, knowingly, a combination of both, giving them to for all this time. And now the time
yes,
come to bring our power back. But our power includes our power, and our energy, what we're giving energy to, includes money. And the message here really is that these organizations that pretend to look, it's all an illusion. It's all part of the illusion of the world that we're living in, but they are not
yes,
looking after the animals. They are not. And the message that I really want to share is, I want to ask people, if you are giving money to an organization that is one of more of these sort of big organizations and whatever, look into what they're doing, and rather go and see if you can go down the road and find a sanctuary or a rescue or a rehab place where you can see feet on the ground that these people are helping animals, and choose where you
yes,
want to put your energy, which is
yeah,
partly money, or where you want to volunteer and spend your energetic time and that kind of thing. Because we by us funding and putting our energy and
yeah,
our money into these organizations, we keep them going. It's time to withdraw that, and it's time to make different choices. We are the ones that are now empowered as to which organizations are going to survive in this new realm. And this is something I feel very, very, very strongly
yes.
about. Enough of this, enough now.
And me too. I feel strongly about it too. I'm little. It's hard to, get it out there about who I am and what I do. There is a documentary being made. It's in the works. And that's a good story to tell. But and I also, to me, the tree monitor thing that I've got going on here goes along with the energetic work that I'm doing with the animals here. I'm not the greatest marketer, but let me tell you something. I'm really good at what I do here. And I would like for more people to have the experience of just being out in nature with animals. It's good for your soul. Even if you go out in nature and only see one bird that day, I mean, that's still good for your soul. But to see an ecosystem like this, um, I charge a little fee for my tours, but sitting in an energy space like this where there's so much animal activity going on, and you realize how sacred it is, and you're the one that holds that sacredness. The institutions do not. All that's about making money. But your heart and soul engagement into energetic spaces like um, that serve them and us. Um, yeah, it's just really, really beneficial to get involved with somebody somewhere and get on the ground, you know, get on the ground and just feel it. Just, you know, it's a sacred opportunity.
100%. And so I will link Kitty's website in the description box. And if anybody is in that
Mm.
area and wants to go out and do a tour, I encourage you to go and see animals in their natural environment, and see what the work is that Kitty's doing there. And as I said, look into kind of the organizations, and even if it's just one person that is starting a rescue, that is trying to do something good, just think about what you're doing with your energy, what you're doing with your money, with your time, because we have the power. We have the power to change this.
Yeah.
And I think the worst thing about Kitty's story is that this was just the problem with these organizations is it's become about money and power and control. And we
Yes.
know that that's what everything is about in this so-called construct, the world, or whatever we want to label it as. But the sad reality is that, there are the work was being done. Kitty rescued these birds because she hadn't paid money for those permits, is the real reason why they came after her, not because of anything else. It was the money, the permit. She didn't have the permit bin, she hadn't spent the money, and then the permits arrived. The permits were basically approved or whatever, 2 months after the birds were euthanized. I mean, this is where you realize how ludicrous this is. It's always about money. And I just want to share a personal experience here. But we have a lot of people know that I'm very connected to my birds here, and I live in New Zealand, and there isn't really anything else except birds because there's no animals here really. But we have repeatedly
I
our neighbors
love
and
your videos.
and our neighbors and us have repeatedly rescued the cygnets, which are the baby swans. We have the black swans here in New Zealand. We have the paradise ducks, which are native to New Zealand. We've rescued a couple of those. The little the plain ducks, I know them as mallards. They might have a different name here. We've got the muscovy ducks that live here, and we've had personal experience with this, where we had two paradise ducks which are native to New Zealand, and we had to call because we couldn't get them out of the drain. The little ducklings had fallen down, and we managed to rescue one of them, and we couldn't get the other two out. And we phoned places, and I'm not going to mention names here, but we phoned places, and they were like, oh, we'll phone the council or phone this other place. And then the person that we first phoned, we said, well, it's a paradise duck. And they said, well, we only want to work with birds that are native. And we said, it's a paradise duck. It's native to New Zealand. The person had to go away and check and then come back and go, oh, yeah, it is native, but it's not endangered. So, in other words, you're on your own. We don't care. And they did send a council guy out like hours later. The ducks were long gone in the drain. I don't know if they survived. But this is what I'm talking
Oh,
about. It's been the
yeah.
people in the community and the neighborhood that have rescued all those other birds. Not any one of these organizations have given a shit when it came down to it. You know, and every life matters. Every single life matters. What
Every
we
life.
do matters.
Yeah, if that's the bird that's right in front of you right here, right now,
Yeah.
that's that matters. I don't need to go look up any documentation on it to know whether that's a life worth saving or not. Yeah, oh, it's a good thing I live out here in the middle of nowhere because, um, yeah, I have very strong feelings about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I had this incident where I was out feeding the muscovy ducks, and the muscovies are actually in many parts of the world, and they are not native to New Zealand. I don't know how the muscovies got here. Maybe they came on a boat, maybe they flew over. I don't know how they came here. But you know what? It's a free planet. As far as I'm
Right,
concerned, it doesn't really matter. And
right.
I love them. And I had somebody coming past the one day when I still had all three of them, because a lot of my viewers know that we lost the two girls recently, and now it's only little old Muskie
Yeah,
there on his own. But luckily, he's got his clan of Pekekos that he lives with, so he's okay.
yeah.
And it amazed me because this woman walked past and she said, "But what is that?" And I said, "Well, it's a muscovy duck." And she said, "Oh, but they're not native here." And I kind of looked at her and I thought, well, sorry, but what's that got to do with the price of eggs? I mean, you've just asked me what duck it is. I've told you what it is, and now you're telling me it's not native. And I said, yeah, I said, but they're pretty sweet and you can have them. Some people try and have them as pets and that because they actually don't quack. They're quiet birds, but they fly and what have you, but they're really quite sweet. And she just said, but they're not native. And then she said it again and again and again. And it was kind of like, well, what does an animal have to be native to the area that you live in for you to care? It's still a life, it's still a
Yeah,
soul. What does it matter? What does it matter? And this is when I was standing there going, the programming runs so so deep. And it was
Yes.
interesting because I was very tempted at the end, but I kept my mouth shut and I wanted to say to her, well, I'm not native to New Zealand either.
Right.
I'm an
Yeah, I
immigrant
have a
to
hard
this
time
country.
keeping my mouth shut. And yeah, this is what I mean about it's a good thing I don't live in a more populated area because to me this is what it looks like to be completely disconnected from your source, yourself. That's the kind of response that comes. That this is what disconnect sounds like. Um, and so, me too.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's the important message here is that we are the change. We are the ones that are here to bring in the change. It's our actions and our intentions and the way we engage with nature going forward. That is what brings in new earth. It's not going to be left to some governmental body or some person who's supposedly looking after wildlife.
No, no, it's every day. It's us. It's us. Every single one of us. It's us. That's where the change is going to come from. And the rest just has to follow. I mean, it just will. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Well,
It's us.
of course it will. Of course it will. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So Kitty, I wanted to ask you just because I do find it fascinating. Tell us a little bit more about what you're doing with the trees.
Yes. And it sounds like a big departure, but it's not. I mean, people that come here on the tour, I have been pointing out my trees all along, going, "Oh, we planted these from seeds, and now look how big they are." Um, Here's the thing about the trees. I've been following the Global Consciousness Project since the 80s. I remember the first time I heard about the noosphere, which is around the planet, not where the atmosphere is, but the noosphere around the planet is where all the thoughts go. And I heard that back in the 80s. And so I've been following the Global Consciousness Project since back then. And what they did was they set up these random number generators. Don't quote me on the numbers, but it seems to me like they got up to around 300 all around the globe. Random number generators, they just sit in different places around the globe, shooting out random numbers. However, they noticed that when some big event happened, now big events happen now. Oh, everybody knows it instantaneously. Back then, we didn't have the internet and all that, but as it was coming online, um, any big event that happened, like a tsunami in Asia, the death of Diana, the Twin Towers, any big event where enough people were thinking about the same thing at the same time, right? And all that's going into the noosphere. But enough people thinking about the same thing at the same time would interrupt these random number generators and they would start getting in coherence with each other. And so they've been documenting this for a really long time and fascinating studies. In the 90s, in the early 90s, Heart Math Institute came along and they kind of like just took it over and took it beyond where the work that had been done before already. And now the Heart Math Institute, different locations around the world, but I think mainly Northern California is their office. They started providing all of the heart monitors for like the Joe Dispenza seminars and a lot of documentation with the kind of fields, the magnetic electrical fields that our heart puts out, and that and Joe Dispenza and also Greg Braden, a lot of different people teach meditations where you slow your heart rate down, you get brain heart coherence. That coherence connects you to the Earth's magnetic coherence and field, and you get connected to the infinite field of intelligence when you're all settled down and breathing easy and peaceful and so they measure heart coherence you know, a ballroom of 1,500 people, right? And watch these magnetic fields just get bigger and bigger and bigger in coherence. So the newest project with HeartMath is the tree project. Um, there's a special name for it. But they are starting out with 100 trees placed globally, kind of like they did with the random number generators back in the beginning. But 100 trees placed in different places all around the globe. I got one of them. I lobbied hard for it. I go, oh my God, my trees are my kids too. I mean, I'm already sending them a lot of love, but we got to get one of those here. Oh, I had to go through a big interview process and they approved me. They came here, we got it all hooked up, little sensors that go into the tree, and it's measuring, the electrical impulses, sends it up to a satellite. And I can't even imagine. I'm working with these scientists. I'm thinking, how do they design all this stuff? And then that satellite sends it back down to a computer program. And those 100 trees, mine one of them, you can watch the electronic pulses, the magnetic expansion of these trees. In other words, you're standing in front of my tree and sending it love, and when it receives that, and you can see it on a computer program. And I think it's amazing because I mean, I do a lot of praying and positive thinking, and I have big faith, and I know that my thoughts are going in the new sphere, and I know I'm making a difference. But seeing it on a computer program, the
Makes it
tree
real.
responds to your love. To me, is it's not just about affecting the tree. It's about, excuse me, if our hearts are that powerful, if our hearts are that powerful, what all can we do with that? We can do
100%.
it's just an incredible opportunity as a teaching tool. I want to get my hands on more kids. I want to, get my hands on people coming out here and add that to my tour. I already do a lot of work with Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Eagle Scouts, volunteer groups from the high school, the Kiwanis Club. But kids, for a kid to find out something like to see that their heart makes a difference, and they can walk that out into everything they do in their life.
Yeah,
Once you see it, you know it. You know
exactly.
it. And
And that's exactly it.
yeah,
The kids, if we can get the kids into these different, I don't want to call it a mindset, into rather this different state of being, then that changes everything because they are the new generations, and then that knowledge is then going to filter down to their kids and their kids, and that's how we
yeah,
write everything.
it's a simple awareness level
Yeah, yeah.
of who you are.
Mm.
It's just that simple that we're just that powerful. And Jane Goodall, who I followed all my life, she's been my inspiration. She's a little older than me, but I followed her forever. She started up that Roots and Shoots program globally. It went global. But as far as she was concerned, even a kid living in Africa in a hut on a dirt floor can make a difference in the world. Everybody can make a difference. And she's been empowering these kids with her Roots and Shoots programs for years. And oddly enough, I've asked a couple times to be a part of that, and I never heard anything back. But I'm going to run as far and as wide and as crazy as I can with this heart math thing, because it's a way for me to empower.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mm.
I get to let it come through me and teach it, and I can do a lot of empowering if I can extend my reach a little bit here.
Yeah. Well, I think it's beautiful that you were rather working with your trees. I don't think you were meant to do that, but all those little trees that you grew from seeds, and that, and I love it because the plants and the trees, specifically the trees and their roots and all the mushroom or the mycelium underneath the ground, that's our natural
Yes,
internet that connects absolutely everything. So
yes,
in the same way we were talking a little bit earlier about how the whales can communicate with one another across the other side of the planet, the
I know.
trees are so critical because I mean, if you can stand and hug a tree and love a tree and you can send that love out, imagine what that's doing to Gaia and imagine where
Yeah.
that's going, and that can be sent to the other side of the planet. I mean, this is amazing. I mean, not that we can't just stand here and send it out into the atmosphere, but the trees have also been very, very sacred antenna. You know, you think about they're deeply rooted into Gaia and they grow all
Yeah.
the way up sort of into the heavens type of thing, and they are connected with, you know, sort of for me with these higher realms, and the trees are so important. They're so much a part of this. Everything is alive and everything is conscious.
The root systems in this barren desert are connected to each other. And I have natural occurring creosote bushes out here, and their root systems are connected, and they're hundreds and hundreds of years old, maybe millions, but their root systems are connected and they talk to each other. And they also, we were talking about the orca that wants to share food with us. If one of these creosote bushes gets water, it shares through the root system, and way out in the desert, that'll turn green too because they're sharing root systems. So we just, I think a better knowledge, awareness, appreciation for just how connected this whole thing is, just how connected we all are. We can do such a better job of being the stewards, you know, of all the living things on our planet here. We can do way
Well,
better job.
absolutely. Absolutely. And isn't that what this awakening and this remembrance is about? Is because
Yeah.
we've been asleep to what we are, who we are, and what we can
Yes.
actually do. And that's what this is about. This is about waking up to that remembrance and going, hey, this is up to me. This is not for me to give it up to somebody else and give my responsibility and my power away. This is for I am a steward of Earth. I am
Yeah.
even a steward of the universe, if you will. You know, it's
Yeah.
everything that I do matters, and that's why it's so
It does.
important what we are doing consciously with our money, with our time, with our energy, with everything. This is how we change things.
Yes. I'm so happy to be doing it with you, Em. I'm just, I, for the very, very isolated life that I live, and I do, because I'm just, I have no social life. I have a life though, a great life. But, how is it that I can get connected with someone like you on the other side of the world without divine choreography going on here? I mean, this is just so much fun. This is just so, um, yeah, I mean, gosh, this is great doing this with you, Em. Great.
Yeah, I know, and that's for another message for all the people out there. I know that we sometimes hate technology and we go, oh, it's going to go nowhere good. But look, there's, as I keep saying, the technology in and of itself is neutral. There is no good, there is no bad. It's what we do with it. And
Right,
I mean,
right.
I couldn't connect with all the people I connect with without this technology. So,
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, this is amazing how we've all been able to connect in these very isolated circumstances, especially what happened 5 years ago and that. But we remained connected. And yes, there's been
yeah,
friction, but there's a lot of coming back together. And for me at the moment, the wheat's just being separated from the chaff. It's all going to be okay.
yes,
You don't need to worry
yes,
about any of that. We just need to worry about what am I doing? What am I doing? Where do I want to go? Forget about everything else. For well, how do you
right.
want to make a difference? What do you want to create in this very moment and going forward? What do you want to create and what do you want to bring? And I want to bring love, and I certainly want to bring in a better world for the animals. That's all
Yeah,
I want to do, you know.
yes,
Yeah, and I
yeah.
think
You
Kitty,
need to,
you are the
if
same.
we were elected officials and living in Washington D.C., we'd be tearing that place up too. But that's not what my job and your job is right now. I elected somebody to go represent me. They better get to it and do a good job. That's not my job or your job right now. I care about it. I care about it. But I we have our hands full with what we're doing here. And by the way, I think you're doing a really good job.
Oh, thank you, Kitty.
what yeah,
I know I do. I'm doing it energetically at the moment until I have my sanctuary physically where I can have and home and rescue, rehabilitate, or permanently home all of those animals that I want to help. So,
yeah.
so yes, yeah, yeah.
I got room for you here,
Everything is a
Pam.
step towards that. Sorry, what
Right?
was that?
I said I have room for you here. I mean, if you,
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely. Coming to visit you one day, Kitty, and then there's going to be we're probably going to cause some kind of earthquake or something, but that's
right.
it.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm ready for that too. I'm just like, I've gotten to the point in my life. Well, okay, whatever. Uh, you know, uh, my son disappeared. I'm driving up and down the mountain looking for him, thinking he's dead and everything. But guess what? The animals still need to be fed, and the chores still need to be done. And okay, whatever. Um, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. I have no problem and commit with
Yeah,
joy.
exactly. With joy and just, yeah, and just knowing
Yeah.
that we don't have to have it all solved and it all figured out. It's just the little things we
Thank
are doing
God.
each moment
Yeah.
are making a difference. And we know how powerful our hearts are. So, you know, yeah, I mean, even when I rescued those three little birds last week that my cats brought in, which most people know about when I shared last week, but when seeing them fly off like that, your heart just is it's just such a beautiful thing to just see them, being okay and setting them free. And,
Yeah.
all of that ripples out. And, I think just to, the heart math and all the things that they're doing, what that really ties into is also the power of group work. And like when people meditate together or pray together or whatever
Yeah.
you want to call it. And that's why I do the global events, because I can definitely sit here on my own and send and go and work with the whales and the waters and whatever. But that's why I invite people to come with me, because for every extra person there, it just is amplified and amplified and
Exactly.
amplified.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're powerful, but we're even more powerful together. And that part is really exciting, to discover and to participate in. Yeah. We can change the world. I know we can. I yeah, we're working on it, right, Em?
Yeah, yeah. And we are changing the world. It is, I believe it
Yeah.
is changed. It's just that our physical reality is taken a while to catch up. And obviously there's still a little bit more or crap to come up that needs to be cleansed before we can, but it's all happening. It's New Earth is already
Right.
here, in my opinion. Yeah.
Right.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I've taken a different view lately. Like, I absolutely do not listen to the news, but I do listen, do news feeds, people that I trust, and I can get the truth. But I go, every time I hear about more shit happening, I go, oh, that's good, because that's one more thing that I can become aware of that I don't want. And the more I become aware of that, is how we get what we do want. And I'm just putting it all in that category. Yes, absolutely. Keep showing me what I don't want, and then I will create what I do want because of what you showed me. So thank you very much. Let me know.
100%.
I just
And it's just having that awareness of what's going on, but not feeding it, and rather feeding what you
right,
do want. That's it's such a key message, because even when we are going, oh, I don't want that, I don't, we're still actually giving it energy. You actually have to shift
right,
focus. Yeah, yeah,
right. Becoming aware of something that you don't want is gold. It's like,
yeah.
oh
It is
my
cool.
god, now I don't want that. Here's what I do want. It just, you can instantly turn it into the thing you want and put your energy there. So
Exactly.
yeah, doing that with a lot of things. Doing that with a lot of things these days.
For my viewers, I connected with one of Kitty's very special ravens, or he is called Manan, a couple of months ago. And I know that he's with
Yeah.
you, and all the messages that he shared with me and everything. So I want to thank you, Kitty, for everything that you've been doing for the animals and for Gaia all these years. And you've been through absolute hell and back, and you have not once given in to this beast of a system. And
Not once.
no, and we might still be living in it for a little while longer, but we are no longer of it, and we do not need to empower it, you know. So
Right.
I want to thank you for everything that you've been doing. Like before I was born, you were helping the animals, and I want to say thank you, and I'm sure our viewers will agree. So.
Yeah.
So we are, everybody that watches us is going to be sending you a wave of that beautiful love, and I hope that you can feel it.
Well, and I want to thank you because you have had your group, your wonderful group. Um, they did a lot of praying and ceremony for me before that last mandatory hearing, and that was very powerful for me. Um, I mean, I was willing to go in and deal with whatever, but I went in with a lot of power that day. And the other thing is that your special gifts, you're connecting with Moonin, who is just dear to me. You know, raised him from a baby. Moonin told you things that I had never told you, and you gave me so much peace about that connection that you did with him, and that's kind of changed my experience at the refuge ever since, because I feel him now all the time, realizing, you know, I got over the grief part and I'm now back into connecting with him. But just, you know, your work and your heart and your gifts, I don't know, Em, I want to thank you for all that you're doing.
Mm. Thank you, Kitty. Yeah. And I mean, you're bringing it back to me now, and I'm getting a bit tearful. But I remember the message that he really wanted me to bring forth, and because I obviously knew that he was one of the ravens that had been, euthanized and that. But I just it was it wasn't it a beautiful message when he said, I think he said something along the lines of, this was all, we all signed up for this, and we knew this was going to happen, and we all left our bodies shortly before it happened, and we didn't suffer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and it was such a beautiful message, because I remember it being a pretty emotional session for me, and I'd never really thought about that, but it was just he's
Well,
there,
that
and
was,
we know
yeah,
the
very
animals are
peaceful.
there, but
And you know, he also told you that he didn't want to see me sad.
yes.
He wanted, you know, with him gone, but he liked it better when I was happy and
Mm.
when I was smiling, and because that was the me that was with him all the time, you know. So I mean, those insights there, yeah, yeah, awesome.
No, well, they're always with us, and I do believe that they are very much orchestrating things from the other side, because birds for me are very, very connected with the angelic realm, and I do believe that they are bringing in that energy now for us, all those birds that are in spirit. So, and that would include my Yoki and my Ono, who are my beautiful little Muscovies that left quite recently. I believe that this is all part of the divine orchestration, and just the beautiful interconnectedness of everything, and the power of love.
I know, and you know, don't you feel lucky? I mean, I just feel so lucky, so blessed to be connected in that way.
Mm.
Um, it has a big thing to do with the joy that I feel every day, being connected in this way with these creatures. It's just wonderful.
Absolutely. And they just are. They're so natural. There's no hidden agendas. There's no bullshit with them. There's no ego. There's nothing there. It's just animals are pure love. I mean, I mean, we are actually love embodied as well, but we've just I don't know, something happened, but let's not go there. That's not what this conversation is about. But the animals have never ever lost that. I don't feel like they've ever fallen into that sort of distortion, if I can call it that. They just are pure love, and they've never lost that unconditional love, and they've never lost sight of the beautiful beings that they are. They didn't forget. Let's put it that way. They've never
Yeah,
forgotten.
absolutely. Well, let's keep doing this.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, you're doing
yeah,
it every
right,
day, Kitty, with
right,
every animal you
right.
interact. You're doing it every day.
And I know I get calls from people all over the place, and you have to understand it. Everybody's calling me with a problem, and they don't know what to do, but they're taking the time to reach out and find me because I'm not going to meet most of these people. I mean, I get calls from LA and Vegas and San Diego, but they're calling to find out how they can help because they care. And I always say, do you know that you just made my day because I just met one more person out there who with their heart they care about what's going on out there. So yeah, I mean, I've got the greatest job in the whole world talking to people like this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful, really wonderful.
I feel that this energy will go out far and wide, and I do feel like this video is going to just make people stop and think about.
Yeah, and we could be conscious about every single decision, conscious, mindful, with love and compassion. We can do it with everything,
Mm. Yeah,
everything. Yeah.
exactly. And then the beauty of that is that I also feel that I know nothing is ever in vain because everything has a higher purpose. But from this very human experience, the trauma is very real and the suffering is very real. You and I see it every day and experience it. And so for me, it almost like it's I don't know exactly what the word is. I find that human language is failing me at the moment, but it makes you
Yeah.
understand, even on a human level, that nothing is ever in vain and that nothing is ever lost.
Yeah. No, we go forth from here. We go forth from here with everything that we've learned so far.
I am, yeah, I look forward when I can travel one day. As you know, you are going to be one of the first pit stops as I go into the US because everybody that follows me on this channel knows that there's a running joke about me ending up and having a sanctuary in Texas somewhere. Um, so it'll either be in Texas or somewhere in Africa. That's all I know for now. But I'm definitely going to come up
Well,
and visit
you
you.
just never know.
You never know. I'm
And
gonna just
uh,
let the universe take me wherever I need to be.
yeah, well, you're welcome here in this part of the universe, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'd love to come spend a month or two just working with you and seeing what it's like. So I'm really hoping to do that in the near future.
Yeah, I mean, it would be fun. I'm busy all the time. Follow me around for a day, my interaction with the animals all day long. I mean, I've got these hummingbirds here right now. They're flying all around my head. I don't know if you can see them, but they're flying all around my head. They're doing Star Wars around my head here. Every yeah, every minute out here is kind of fun. So
Yeah.
I look forward to being with you, Em.
But that's the thing is that, we can't harden our hearts and we have to feel because it tells us that we're still human and we care.
Yes, Em. I didn't, right after the Ravens were taken away and killed, I did not think that I could actually do the tours anymore. I was so heartbroken, and when I decided, well, and then somebody would book a tour, and I go, oh no, I'm going to do it. They want to come here, um, and I started telling that story because the thing about working with animals and what we're doing is it's not all happy stories. When I was working on that 100 dog rescue for 2 years, every day for 2 years, I only saved 41 of them
Yeah, I know.
every day for 2 years. There were thousands of graves up there already. It's not all happy ending stories. So people would come, and then I'd walk them out to the aviary and stand there where they used to live and be so happy. And I'd say, "This is what happened," and people were leaving my tour in tears. And I was like, "Well, I don't know if that's such a good tour." Everybody's crying when they're leaving, and I go, "Well,
It's
Um,
real. It's real.
it's what happened, and it's what goes on out here, and it's what the world is, and it's what I think I have to share the truth. Then I show them videos, of Sweetie Pie and them playing and talking to each other. But they really felt it. They really felt the loss without ever having met the birds. And I just I felt, well, now this is just a part of what my tour is now. It's like part of my life is losing them. A part of the tour is their story.
Mm. And you know what's so interesting for me, Kitty, is I think I remember mentioning this to you after the trial, is I said this might be over, this might look like it's over, but it's not over. There's something that's going to happen after this. And I feel like these birds were a message. And I know it didn't unfold very nicely in this 3D realm, but the birds, what has happened with them is going to have a ripple effect into the great change that we are now making, because people are going to hear the story and it is going to start making them think about what's happening. And I remember saying that to you, like, this is not over. What the birds and them departing and what have you, it is not over. This what's coming is part of their story and
Yeah,
part of
I feel that too.
I think it's really important, and just we're not in times where we need the truth kept from us anymore, and we need things sugar coated, and that we need to wake up, we need to confront the shadows, we need to look at the darkness, and we because it's the only way to move forward. And so you sharing these things with people and then leaving in tears, I go, well, that, as you say, is the truth of it. And when you mentioned that you only saved 41 of those 100 dogs, what I keep coming back to, and it's for anybody out there who works with animals and or who wants to, and I'm sure the ones who work with animals can relate, but I every now and again I get to the point where I feel overwhelmed. There'll be a story or something that comes to me and I go, flipping hell, I need to do more. I need to be making more of a difference.
Yeah.
And it becomes so overwhelming. And I keep bringing myself back to that beautiful story of the one starfish. There was that story where the boy was throwing back the one starfish, and the guy, there's something about, I mean,
Oh
I'm probably stuffing it up, but all the starfish were being washed up onto the ocean, and he was
no,
throwing
I love
one
that
back
story.
and
I
one back.
love that story.
Yeah. And then the guy said to him, well, what are you doing? Because you can't rescue them all. And as you're throwing them back, they're coming back. And he said, because if one of those goes back in and makes it in there, it makes a difference to that one starfish. And funny, what's so beautiful is I had a day where I was so overwhelmed by things that were going on. It was like I need to do more and I can't do more, and it was awful. And I went for a walk on the beach, Kitty, and I cannot lie to you, but there was a starfish that washed up in the water after that
Oh
moment. I have a
my.
picture. This is the way the universe speaks to me. And I have a
Oh,
picture of the starfish, and it wasn't alive, but it washed up at my feet, and I took a picture of it in the water. And I threw it
oh,
back, even though it wasn't alive, I threw it back into
right.
the water as a signal, and I said thank you to the universe. And I keep coming back to the one starfish, the one animal that we help.
Yes.
It makes the world of difference to that one animal.
Yeah, because I think then that boy said, well, it makes a difference to that one, when
Exactly.
somebody was, yeah, it makes a difference to that one.
Yeah.
Um, I
So to
love that
those
story.
41, so to those 41 souls, those 41 dogs, you made a
Yeah.
difference, you know.
Those 41. Yes. Yes. And I don't do it anymore because I don't have time to do it, but I used to write a weekly column for the newspaper, and at the end of every single story, I had that quote: "Saving one dog's life won't change the world, but it does change the world for that one dog."
That's right.
And I had that quote as the ending of every single one of my newspaper column stories. Yeah, that one. Yeah, made a difference to that one. So yeah,
Exactly. And it's all we can do, because it's not meant to be overwhelming. It's because that then puts you in that place of disempowerment again, and then you sit there and you just feel then just everything becomes overwhelming, and then you want to give up. And that's really and it happens often, and I
Well,
just
I think that you and I, we're almost painfully aware of um how much help is needed and how much suffering is going on, and it's because of that awareness and that compassion and that passion that we have, that keeps us out there, keeps us going, so to mix up that awareness level with the limitations of what we're capable of doing and the accomplishment of one more thing, how important that one more thing is. We got to put that all together and mix that all together. But yeah, we have, look, you and I, we have big hearts. We want to do more. Gosh,
Yeah. It's so
yeah.
funny because I have a magic wand here. I have a wand that I created for myself, and it's actually what they call a mini subatomic particle accelerator, because it's copper pipe
Oh,
with a quartz in it and whatever, and I use it often when I'm working with energy and stuff. And
oh, fun.
one day I'm gonna be able to just go and
Yep.
almost power. Like I'm gonna be able to just go, I see this is just being magically transformed, and boom, it's gonna happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we can get there, Em. I have faith. I think we can get there. I want, yeah, speed up the speed up the manifestation a little bit. I'm there. I'm ready. I can handle it. I go, oh no, you hold yourself back because you can't take too much. No, I can handle.
Oh wow. Well, Kitty, it's been so awesome to have you on and to finally share this message. I feel it's very timely as we're now in the second half of 2025, and
Right.
it's been a pretty wild year so far, and I think it's only going to continue to ramp up in that. So and I just want to say thank you publicly for everything that you've been doing. And thank you for everybody who's watching this, and wishing you all a magical rest of your day.